Breaking news. Approaches that the United States and NATO can take to counter Russia's nuclear threats against Ukraine. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been going on for over a year now. Russia's unprovoked aggression triggered the worst security crisis in Europe and the world since World War II. And no relief in sight either. In addition to bringing the world closer to nuclear catastrophe than at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis, Russian President Vladimir Putin's war of choice has also cast doubt on the future of East-West arms control negotiations and international efforts to control the spread of nuclear weapons. The stakes of this war go far beyond the continued existence of Ukraine as a sovereign nation. The international order, upon which the security of Europe and the world have long rested, has been challenged by Russia. These principles include the freedom of nations to make their own security arrangements and treaties of alliance, as well as the protection of state sovereignty and territorial integrity. Putin's disturbing willingness to break the nuclear use taboo that has prevailed since 1945 by threatening to use nuclear weapons to achieve his goals threatens strategic stability and undermines the nuclear nonproliferation regime. Russia's recent decisions to suspend compliance with the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, New START, and to deploy nuclear weapons in Belarus raise concerns about an increase in nuclear risks. While the United States and its allies must exercise extreme caution to prevent a nuclear escalation, they must also prioritize defeating Putin, restoring Ukrainian sovereignty, and bolstering the rules-based order. Putin is scared. Since the beginning of the war on February 24, 2022, Moscow's war goals have not changed despite many failures on the battlefield and numerous miscalculations by Putin. Its ultimate goal remains the annexation of Ukrainian territory that Putin considers Russian territory, the suppression of Ukrainian nationalism on the grounds that Ukrainians are really just Russians misguided by the West, and the subjugation of Ukraine to Russian hegemony. Putin wants to return Europe to the era of spheres of influence and might makes right, so he's pressuring Kyiv to cut ties with NATO over security concerns. He hasn't shown any willingness to negotiate a ceasefire unless Ukraine completely capitulates and accepts the new territorial realities, which he defines as Moscow's purported annexation of Crimea and 4 other Ukrainian provinces. Putin's concern that Ukrainian democracy is a threat to Russia and his imperial ambitions is at the heart of the conflict. Putin fears that if democracy were to take hold in Ukraine, it would send the wrong message to the Russian people and eventually bring down the authoritarian system he has built in Russia over the past 23 years. Even partial success for Russia would be detrimental to the core interests of the United States and NATO. It will make Russia a more serious threat to NATO and inspire other despots with revisionist ambitions to follow Putin's lead. A more confident China, armed to the teeth with nuclear and conventional weapons, could threaten to impose its will on Taiwan by force. Putin has stated explicitly that his goals go beyond the borders of Ukraine. Putin may use force against other former Soviet countries that he views as historically part of the Russian Empire if he is not stopped. These are countries like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania that are protected by both the Article 5 guarantee of NATO and the nuclear umbrella of the United States. No amount of self-control will help. The ongoing Russian offensive in eastern Ukraine can only be stopped if Kyiv is supplied with enough conventional weapons to counterattack and retake more territory. Allies can improve the chances of a just peace being reached by helping Ukraine gain the upper hand on the battlefield in the coming months.